So I'm doing a review for one of my favorite horror movies, and that is Aliens. Wow. What can I say about Aliens that hasn't been said before? Obviously, the first one was Alien by Ridley Scott. This one is done by James Cameron. And like I said with my Jaws review, and I'll say this about Aliens, this is a perfect example of how to do a movie right. And Aliens is probably one of my most quoted movies, and definitely one of my most watched movies of all time. I watch it at least once a year. It's done so well, and it shows you the talents of James Cameron, especially in his prime era after Terminator and everything. And I think this is probably one of his best movies next to Terminator 1. It's just an amazing film. It does so many things right because if you've seen Alien, and we've all seen Alien, we all love Alien. It's the script for the sequel would be very hard to do and keep Sigourney Weaver to do it. You know, like how could you get Ripley to go back to the planet that gave her such a terrifying experience? And with the wrong script, it would have just been forced and it wouldn't be believable. But the way they do it here is very believable because she has to, it's basically the whole trope of getting over your fears. And like I said, with the wrong script, that could be really done bad. But with this one, it seems realistic that, and it's, obviously she has to go back, and her whole thing is to go back and destroy the aliens that have terrified her so much because they would make her sleep better. Not to know that these things are running around in space. So it has to have a very great execution on that level. And also it has to have, a believable cast to do this. And basically they're going back to the planet to figure out if these things actually exist. And you have the whole team of the military that go with her. And the casting, like I said when I was doing my Jaws review, Aliens is perfectly cast. And when I mean perfectly cast, I still do quotes from characters that have one lines, like one line. And when I'm with my friends, I'll do, like I'll make fun of these characters, but I mean, I love these characters, but like even the small characters are taken seriously. So when a certain character dies that had one line, you still care. And a lot of horror films don't do that. Like you don't really care about the guy that had one line in the beginning and he was just like a sacrificial, killing to the movie. But with Aliens, all the side characters you care about, the main character obviously you care about, Ripley, and this movie shows that you can make, like with Alien is a straight up horror film. It's a slow paced horror film. And Aliens is the complete opposite. It's an action summer blockbuster, which usually in today's standards goes very wrong. It's always like with a lot of films, it's always they knock it out of the park with the first one, and then the second one, like they always try to do too much, make it into an action film, and it just goes off the rails and just it's ridiculous a lot of the times. So on paper, Aliens shouldn't really work because it's taking so many things that the first one did and just throwing it out the air and saying, hey, we're going to make a horror action film out of a slow-paced sci-fi horror action film. I mean, like a slow-paced like horror film. And you would think it wouldn't work. But when you have a talented crew, like I'm sure James Cameron had, it actually, man, not only did it work, but it changed the franchise forever. I mean, the franchise wouldn't be as big without Aliens. It just wouldn't. Like it just branched like the lore and the curiosity you had from Alien, which is, like I said, it's really hard to do because Alien is so scary because of the mystery of the creature. Like it's so terrifying because at the end of Alien, you still don't know like what is going on and why this thing exists, and like the whole like mythology and the whole biology of this creature is still a mystery. So it's just, man, there's so many bad directions they could have taken this. And in today's standards, because they've done a lot of directions with Aliens, the Alien franchise, they've proven that those directions can go horribly wrong. And, but I always think they always can bring it back because there's so much good stuff here. And James Cameron just proved that you can take these ideas and execute them very well and still like have a fun movie. And Aliens is just that. It's a fun movie. I mean, it's action. It's kind of funny, but you got to have someone who really takes not only the story seriously, but the creatures seriously. And I would say the most important thing that James Cameron did is that he made them. I don't know if they didn't have CGI too much back then, but he could have obviously made it like, over the top where it didn't look good. But Aliens, the creatures, the creatures look amazing. Like if you watch Aliens, you're just dumbfounded. Like, it's puppetry, but they don't look like puppetry. The way he did it, the trick photography they used for how, like, even in the beginning, when the military crew is going into the nest area and they get like jumped by the aliens, there's major shots of the aliens moving around and they just look organic and like almost like cat-like. They're moving around. They never feel like a guy in a suit. And I remember watching a documentary on Alien, and that was one of the big worries they had, is that it would look like a guy in a suit moving around instead of like an alien. And in one criticism of Alien, there are a couple shots where it does look like a guy in a suit. And that was, I would say, my only complaints with Alien. There's a small 2 shots where it kind of looks like that, but overall, it still looks amazing because it's almost, the alien kind of is man-like because of they're coming out of people, so it kind of they get away with that because of the whole biology of what these aliens do and how they birth people and with the cocoons and stuff, so they can get away with that. But with the aliens, they move really, really well. And even at the end with the queen, I mean, that could have easily been horrible. I mean, it was a big electronical creature with about 4 people attached to it, and it looked real. And there's major action scenes where the camera is just watching this thing move around, and not once did it look like a fake puppet. And it's a shame that movies nowadays with aliens executed with CGI, because I just don't think it should ever be a CGI character. Aliens should always be a puppet and makeup. That is the staple of it. Not even for the action sequences. I don't think. I think the still shots of the close shots should be puppetry, and I think the back shots should be puppetry, no matter what. I'd rather see it look cheesy with the puppetry than look cheesy with CGI. And too many films now just like I said, they don't know how to execute it. But it takes a special director and believable characters to pull this off. And Aliens just does that. I mean, the pacing is really good. You know, it takes a while. I mean, in the beginning, it takes the build up to get to the planet where things start to happen. So you have about 20 minutes or so of them trying to convince Ripley to go. And then you have Ripley saying yes to go into the planet. She meets the military people. They have their little meeting. And the buildup is in the unknown of the military crew. They don't know what she does. And that's why it's so intriguing, because there's so much doubt with her character. They all think she's crazy. And you know she's not, because you watched the first movie, and you're kind of rooting for her almost to prove them wrong in a way. It's kind of weird. Like you don't want them, to get hurt, obviously, but that's the fun of the movie. But you kind of want, once they start, the aliens start popping up, there's almost a satisfaction with the viewer of being like, see, she told you so. And for the first 30 minutes to an hour, you're kind of just sitting there just watching it like, yeah, she warned you guys to take this serious, but nobody did. And when it starts going down, you're almost, you're feeling sorry for the characters a little bit, but on another part, you're kind of happy that she's getting her, that the main character, Ripley, is basically now being taken seriously. And I believe that Ripley, Sigourney Weaver, her character is the best female action star of all time. To this day. It's 2025, and there's still nothing better than Sigourney Weaver and Ripley to this day. And that goes to show you, because I love female empowerment films. I love when, I don't care who the main character is, male or female, I don't care what race. I just want the execution to be taken seriously so we can make those characters, iconic. And Sigourney Weaver's character is taken seriously in an emotional way, not an action way, but an emotional way of a human being. Like, you can relate to this character. And when she takes over, because she basically takes over the crew, she's the dominant alpha. And because, for one, she's the only one that dealt with this creature before. And two, it's her personality. It's not necessarily like anything she does, and until the end of the movie when she takes on the queen. But even before that, she's basically level-headed, and she takes control of the situation because she's the strongest person in the group. That's where the script lies. Because in Alien, I've heard that in Alien, they didn't know that the main character was going to be male or female. So that's a great thing, because when they wrote it, they didn't write it with the sex in mind. It was just a character. So when you're watching Alien, it feels organic that she's the one that prevailed at the end. It was by chance, it was by luck, and it was also by the fact that she was the most level-headed person in that crew. If you watch Alien over again, she was the one that was warning them to not even take the creature on the ship. So it was just one of those things where you just didn't think about, like, man versus, you didn't think about that culture war stuff. You were just like, oh wow, this woman is just the smartest person here. And the same thing with Aliens. She's the one in the crew that takes over the whole situation and delegates of what they should do, how they should do it, and you believe it. You don't believe it you forget that she's even female, or you don't even look at the characters like male, female, or anything like that. You're just kind of you believe that she is the one that can do this because she has the strength out of everybody else. And you realize that when you watch the movie. And a lot of movies pander now. They pander to that instead of just letting it happen organically. And this movie does it so well because they wait until the end of the movie before she becomes an action star. That's the biggest point of the movie. Like she's just the strongest person, but when she's faced at the end of the movie and when she takes on the queen, that's the only really action part of the movie with her. I mean, there are a few parts where in the beginning she saves them with driving them out of when they get ambushed, but not until the end where she just straight up becomes an action star. But throughout the movie, she's just saying the right things. You know, like they're in over their head, and not because of any reason really, like socially. It's just the situation is the reason why they're in over their head. They don't know what's going on. They took it for granted that these creatures were that dangerous, and they took for granted that there was situations of corruption of why they were even there. And she even like sniffed out the corruption side of that beforehand too. So not only is she strong emotionally, but she's also strong and smart in a way where she can sniff out the nature of the bad side of human beings and why they would want a creature like this. And these are the themes that make the movie work. Not her like, kicking ass and shooting, and no, it's not like that. It's the character of her as a person was why this movie works. And like I said, when the action stuff starts to happen, you believe it. You're like, yeah, and that's a really hard stretch to believe at the end. If you see it on paper, at the end of Aliens, Sigourney Weaver gets in like this mech suit, like electronic suit, and takes on the queen alien. On paper, that would seem maybe over the top. But when you build it up, a character like this throughout the movie, and you take it, there's so many small scenes where you're just taking Ripley serious, that when it gets to the end of it with the queen, you believe it. And not only do you believe it, but you're just on her side and you are rooting for her character to defeat this, the queen of all the aliens here. And that execution is so serious. It's all about pacing and building the characters. And also not keeping it. Another thing about Aliens I love is it's not too complicated. They don't let you. The reason why Alien 1 and Aliens works is because they leave certain things to the imagination. You still don't know where these things come from. You find out a little bit more about them, like, how they work, and that the queen is the one birthing all the cocoons. But they don't really, there's not enough room or time to explain everything. And a lot of movies now, they think we're stupid or something, where we need so much explanation. And in a 2-hour movie, it slows the plot down. It should be more about the characters, and the characters should be taken seriously. And Aliens just does that so well. The build up, the look of it, the pacing is why this movie works. And it's highly entertaining. And you would hope that more movies would take on the respect of this franchise. I'll do separate reviews for some of the other ones, but Alien and Aliens are the top tier of this franchise. And they are so good that they held the franchise together for this long. It doesn't matter how many bad Alien movies they make, because these two, it just shows you sometimes that you can just make one or two movies that are great and it can just continue on a franchise. But I hope that they can maybe, I can do a separate review for Alien Romulus, which I found entertaining. I'll do that some other time. I don't think it's nearly as good as these movies, but it was fun enough. And I don't mind a fun alien movie. But Aliens is amazing. It's 4 out of 4 stars, and it's just rewatchable. So yeah, that's kind of my review for Aliens. I can talk more about it. I could talk about this all day. But yeah, Aliens, definitely one of the best sci-fi action horror films ever made, if not the best. So have a good one.